And I'm now so excited to be joined live by an incredible astrologer and author, Nadiya Shah, who is here to talk about the wild and crazy astrological emotional roller coaster in the summer of 2023, not the summer of 69, the summer of 23. First of all, welcome, my friend. It's so good to see you in real time rather than, seeing you on YouTube as I did yesterday with the weeklies.
Thank you so much for having me. So happy to be here.
It's such a pleasure. And first, let's talk about the good stuff. We've had so much energy in Taurus. For people that don't follow astrology, we know it's abundance, it's happiness, it's enjoying the incarnation. We've had Jupiter, we've had Uranus, which means blessings and surprises. Explain why this is a blessing, but there's also a lot of surprises.
Well, the surprise energy with Uranus representing new ideas and breakthroughs, but it's also the unpredictable. And, the unpredictable can be really good, but sometimes it doesn't look good right away. And so that's been part of the ways in which we've been surprised by our actual physical lives, whether it's our money, whether it's our desires, have in some ways flipped. And sometimes those surprises are external, sometimes they are in terms of what we really want. But now Jupiter is there magnifying blessings for the collective. This should be really good for the economy. And more personally, I think a lot of us are going to understand the value of valuing ourselves and understanding that we have something within us that we can give and the universe can reciprocate with abundance.
And is there part of that about also getting to a place where we can feel as people that we actually deserve to receive the good stuff instead of punishing ourselves as we complex humans tend to do?
Absolutely. So there is that self-value element of Taurian energy itself. But the great thing about Taurus is that it is so present, right? It is said that Buddha was a Taurus. Now, we don't know his exact birthday, but most charts put him comfortably as a Taurus. And he preached about the five senses, because that's where we find peace. That's where we recognize our abundance, the more present we are in our lives. But of course, we have another big celestial event happening this summer as well. And that's going to be all about love and healing whatever gets in the way of us loving ourselves and each other that much more.
That's the Venus, and that's the Venus retrograde, which we're going to address after the commercial, because we have much more to talk about. I mean, this is like... Things are never going to be the same after this summer is over. I'm feeling it. I'm sure people around the world, people that are on a spiritual journey, even those that aren't, and it's like abundant light that people are going to have to wake up and find their happiness, essentially, right?
Yes, actually, we are in such a phenomenal time of transition. And, I've been saying for years, the world we have at the end of this decade will be a very different world than we started the decade with. And so those transitions, we're getting a little taste of it now, but really we are going to be that much more immersed. It's almost like...
Nadiya, we're going to take a break. I'm going to interrupt you. We'll be right back after the break. I could go on and on with you. We'll be right back after the break. Don't go anywhere. And we're back with more from astrologer and author Nadiya Shah, where you can check out her weekly and monthly videos on her own YouTube channel. Let's talk about this full moon in Capricorn, which we had. I have moon in Capricorn. I felt it big time. It was on the 4th of July. It was in, connecting with this Pluto Capricorn thing that we've been going through since 2008. It's like a 15-and-a-half-year journey. Explain why it's so consequential, this new moon, as far as relationships and life purpose.
Well, the way in which it was activating other big planets in the sky, what we say speaking to or aspecting. So there was this sense of really understanding what is the big picture? What are we really going for? What really matters? And in the most meta sense, this had to do with legacy. What are we creating in terms of our destiny? Whether that's with our own work, whether that is in terms of our relationships and with love as well. What is our destiny where it comes to love? What is success in love? All of this awakened for so many of us out there.
And it's things that you have to actually deal with now, especially now that we're getting into this transformative Venus retrograde. And it's this whole thing. I know you talk about the shadow, and then it walks the sidewalk, and then it squares Pluto, and it's going to go back and forth until September. So what does this mean, and how do people brace for the emotional roller coasters when it comes to our love and relationships? Because it is an emotional roller coaster.
Yes, and I have to tell you, I've been saying it's a doozy of a Venus retrograde season. It is a doozy. And what that means is we're going to have these unexpected twists and turns and some disappointment or disillusionment, frustration, maybe even a little bit of compulsion as well. I'm so sorry to say, but that can be part of how ultimately we move beyond it and tap into the hurts of our heart. What are we really going for? And I think the things we learn now when we're in the middle of the retrograde, which is July 23rd to September 4, we will look back in September as we move later in September and say, what was I thinking? But it is in September that we will recognize how maybe we've been repeating these old patterns that we don't have to anymore, and where it is that we can love ourselves that much more deeply, and how that opens up romantic love to us in a higher sense.
And also we have this whole Neptune retrograde in Pisces. And I know, like, in listening to esoteric astrology, this is all also connected to the United States map, the time in the Civil War when people were finding mysticism. We have the Pluto return in the US, so this harkens into that. Explain also, a lot of people feeling a little floaty, dreamy. What do you do with all of that subliminal energy?
Yeah, so if you think back to since 2010, we've had this sort of revival of spirituality. And all of that has been because of Neptune in its home sign of Pisces, so especially strong in the sky. So many of us want spiritual connection with everyone and everything. We want to feel a sense of mysticism, and that gives our life meaning. And so we're now reaching this crescendo moment, and we have felt it so far this spring and summer, certainly. Next year, in the middle of the year, this energy will be especially strong. But once we navigate into 2025, I actually think we will start to notice ourselves as a collective move in a direction that very likely is going to be more rooted in science and evidentiary experience rather than what we're feeling. So enjoy this time now, because it is what you feel about your connection to everyone and everything that will be the meaning you garner, and you'll be able to carry that forward in real lived ways for the rest of your life.
Wow. And lastly, the nodes, the destiny for a year and a half. You get a north node, the collective destiny, the south node, things. It's been Taurus again, Scorpio, which is very dark for a lot of people. It's been very, very, you're having to deal with darkness, closures, karmas, hurts, pain, all of that. But it's switching now into Aries and Libra. Is that going to also lighten things up for people that are in no man's land?
Absolutely. So the nodes, wherever the nodes go, that means eclipses are going to come in those signs. And eclipses are this very powerful way that the universe says, okay, I know you think you want what you want, but here in an instant, what's not good for you leaves, no matter how you feel about it. And something opens up that represents some higher, more loving vision for our lives. The North Node moving into the sign of Aries means that we're connecting with our personal power, our own definition of what it is to take the reins of our life and harness the sacredness of our free will. With the South Node in Libra, it's about acknowledging where toxic relationships were the excuse because perhaps we were not ready to own our power.
Nadiya, thank you so much, as always, for your insight, and keep shining on and reminding us that the universe is wise and loving.
Thank you for having me, and to your audience as well. Enjoy this sky. It does have its wisdom to it.
Thank you, Nadiya.